The alarm buzzed through the research vessel Discovery as it drifted past the outer edge of what the star charts labeled as System SOL 3847. Dr. Thal pressed her scaled hand against the control panel and watched the readings flicker across the screen. After 15 years of surveying dead worlds and empty space, something about this system felt different. "Commander, we have multiple planetary bodies detected," announced Nix from his station near the back of the bridge. The young officer's blue skin had turned a shade paler as he stared at his instruments. "Third planet from the star shows signs of." "Well, this can't be right." Thal moved closer to examine the data herself. The Galactic Hazard Assessment Council had sent their team to catalog new worlds for potential colonization, but the readings from the third planet made no sense. According to their scanners, 71% of the planet's surface was covered in liquid that registered as highly corrosive. The atmospheric composition showed dangerous levels of oxygen, a gas so reactive it could cause fires to spread rapidly and metal to deteriorate. "Run the scan again," Thal ordered. "These readings suggest the planet should be completely lifeless." The second scan produced identical results. The planet's weather systems showed massive storm formations that generated electrical discharges, millions of times more powerful than what most species could survive. Temperature readings varied wildly across different regions, from freezing conditions that would stop most biological processes to heat that could damage cellular structures. Dr. Kess, the team specialist in atmospheric analysis, joined them at the scanner. Her tentacles moved nervously as she reviewed the data. "Commander, if these readings are accurate, this world represents conditions that would be instantly fatal to 97% of known galactic species." "But look at this," Nick said, pointing to another section of readings. "I'm detecting organized electromagnetic signatures, structures, movement patterns that suggest intelligence." The bridge fell silent. Thal had surveyed over 300 worlds during her career, but she had never encountered anything like this. A planet so hostile that it violated basic principles of habitability, yet somehow supporting what appeared to be a thriving civilization. "Bring us closer," she decided, "but maintain maximum safe distance. If there really is intelligent life on that death world, we need to understand how it's possible." As the Discovery moved into the system's inner region, more impossible data flooded their sensors. The planet's magnetic field fluctuated wildly, creating radiation levels that would sterilize most organic matter. Solar radiation from the system star bombarded the planet's surface with intensity that should have prevented complex life from evolving. Yet the signs of intelligence became clearer with each passing hour. Geometric structures dotted the planet's surface. Energy signatures suggested the use of controlled explosions for propulsion. Most disturbing of all, the inhabitants seemed to move freely across their world's surface, apparently unaffected by conditions that would kill most galactic species within minutes. Dr. Wen, the team's biology expert, studied the readings with growing amazement. "Commander, I'm detecting massive population centers near areas of highest atmospheric toxicity. These beings don't just survive in their planet's hostile environment, they seem to prefer it." "That's impossible," Kess protested. "No known evolutionary path could produce organisms capable of thriving in such conditions." But the evidence continued to mount. Long-range observations revealed the planet's inhabitants engaging in activities that defied understanding. They traveled across the surface of their corrosive oceans in artificial structures. They moved through their reactive atmosphere at speeds that should have torn apart their biological forms. Most shocking of all, they seemed to deliberately expose themselves to their star's radiation, apparently for recreational purposes. "I need to send a preliminary report to the Council," Thal announced after reviewing 3 days of continuous observations. "But I'm not sure they'll believe what we found." She composed her message carefully, knowing that her words would determine how the galactic community responded to this discovery. "Council Command, this is Survey Team Delta 7 reporting from System Sol 3847. We have confirmed the presence of..." intelligent life on the third planet, designated locally as Earth, however. Planetary conditions exceed all known habitability parameters. Thal paused, considering how to explain what they had witnessed. The native species, who call themselves humans, have evolved on a world that can only be described as a death trap. Surface conditions include corrosive liquid covering most of the planet, an atmosphere containing highly reactive gases, extreme weather systems, and radiation levels that should prevent complex life. She continued typing, documenting their observations. Methodically, despite these conditions, human civilization shows signs of advanced development. They have learned to harness their planet's deadly forces for transportation, energy generation, and communication. Preliminary behavioral analysis suggests they not only survive their hostile environment but appear to find challenge and stimulation in overcoming its dangers. The report grew longer as Thal tried to capture the impossibility of what they had discovered. Humans seem to treat catastrophic conditions as normal parts of daily existence. They had developed technology specifically designed to function in environments that would destroy most galactic equipment. Most unsettling of all, they appeared to actively seek out dangerous situations, almost as if difficulty motivated rather than deterred them. Recommendation, Thal concluded her report. Request immediate council review for planetary classification. Standard habitability scales appear inadequate for this world. Suggest new classification category may be required. As she transmitted the message, Thal realized that their discovery would change everything the galactic community thought they knew about the limits of life. Somewhere in the vast darkness of space, an impossible species had evolved on an impossible world, and now the galaxy would have to decide what that meant. The discovery maintained its distant orbit, continuing to gather data while waiting for the Council's response. Each new observation only confirmed what Thal had begun to suspect on their first day in the system. They hadn't just found another inhabited world. They had found something that challenged every assumption about what life could endure and still flourish. Dr. Nix approached her station as the shift ended. Commander, what do you think the Council will decide about these humans? Thal looked at the small, blue-green world spinning peacefully in the void, its surface hiding conditions that would horrify most galactic civilizations. I think, she said slowly, we're about to find out just how much the galaxy is ready to have its understanding of survival completely overturned. The Grand Assembly chamber aboard Station Harmony buzzed with confusion and disbelief as delegates from across the galaxy reviewed the Sol 3 survey report. Ambassador Quinn of the Luminari delegation held the datapad with her crystalline fingers, her transparent body flickering with patterns that indicated deep skepticism. This report must contain errors, she announced to the gathered representatives. No species could possibly evolve under such extreme conditions and still develop intelligence. The energy requirements alone would make complex neural development impossible. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Galactic Council had classified over 12,000 worlds during its existence, but none had ever presented readings like those from Earth. Elder Voss of the Ancient Archives, faction accessed his species' vast historical databases, searching for any precedent. Dr. Kess, chief xenobiologist for the Council, rose from her position at the central podium. Her forearms gestured toward the massive display screen showing Earth's atmospheric composition. Esteemed delegates, I understand your skepticism, but our instruments have been verified multiple times. The third planet of System Sol contains atmospheric oxygen levels of 21%. For comparison, most of our species would experience cellular damage at levels above 8%. The chamber erupted in shocked chittering and clicking sounds from various delegates. Representative Borg of the Methane Collective expressed what many were thinking. Such conditions would cause rapid oxidation of organic compounds. These humans should be burning from the inside out. Yet they aren't, Dr. Kess continued. Long-range behavioral analysis reveals they regularly engage in activities that increase their oxygen consumption. They perform what they call exercise. deliberately accelerating their metabolic processes to levels we would consider dangerous. Senator Drew from the Deep Ocean Federation raised a tentacle in question. What about the liquid covering their world's surface? Our analysis shows it contains dissolved minerals that would corrode most organic tissue. Humans not only tolerate this liquid, they use it for recreation, Dr. Kess replied. We have observed them deliberately immersing themselves in it for extended periods. They've even developed methods to travel across its surface and dive beneath it. The revelations continued to mount as Dr. Kess presented more data. Humans routinely expose themselves to solar radiation at levels that would be lethal to most galactic species. They consumed substances that registered as toxic on standard biological charts. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to actively seek out dangerous situations. I present to the Council recorded observations of human recreational activities, Dr. Kess announced as images appeared on the main display. These beings deliberately place themselves in situations involving rapid acceleration, gravitational stress, and exposure to extreme temperatures. They appear to derive pleasure from experiencing conditions that would traumatize most known psychology. Profiles. Ambassador Zint of the Peaceful Unity World stood slowly, his pale features drawn with concern. If these readings are accurate, we must consider the humanitarian implications. These beings are clearly suffering on their hostile world. Perhaps we should offer relocation assistance to more suitable planets. That assumes they want to leave, interrupted Dr. Lin from the Evolutionary Biology Institute. All evidence suggests humans have not just adapted to their world's conditions, they've become dependent on them. Their physiology appears designed for high-stress environments. The debate continued for hours as delegates struggled to process the implications. The warrior clans argued that any species tough enough to survive such conditions might pose a military threat. The merchant guilds wondered what trade opportunities might exist with beings who could operate in environments no one else could tolerate. Elder, Voss finally called for order. The immediate question before us is classification. We must determine how to categorize this world and its inhabitants within our existing framework. The standard planetary classifications had served the galaxy well for thousands of years. Class 1 worlds were paradise planets suitable for most species. Class 2 required basic environmental protection. Class 3 demanded extensive life support. Systems. The highest previous classification, Class 4, indicated worlds so hostile that only robotic exploration was recommended. I propose we establish a new classification level, announced Dr. Kess. Based on our observations, Earth exceeds all previous parameters for hostility. Standard protective equipment would be insufficient. Most of our species would die within minutes of exposure to its surface conditions. Representative Torque of the Industrial Coalition reviewed the atmospheric data again. You're suggesting we create a Class 5 designation for this single world? I'm suggesting we acknowledge that we've discovered something unprecedented, Dr. Kess replied. A world so hostile it defies our understanding of habitability, yet supporting an intelligent species that not only survives but thrives under these conditions. The debate shifted to the implications of such a classification. If humans could survive conditions that killed other species, what did that mean for future contact? Some delegates expressed concern about human expansion into space. Others worried about the psychological impact on galactic civilization of discovering that survival was possible under such extreme conditions. Ambassador Quinn spoke again, her crystalline form dim with worry. If we acknowledge that intelligence can evolve under such conditions, what does that say about our own assumptions about life itself? The question hung in the air as delegates considered the fundamental challenge Earth presented to their understanding of biology, evolution, and survival. For millennia, galactic civilization had operated under the assumption that life required careful balance and protection from hostile forces. Now, they faced evidence that life could not just endure extremes but be shaped by them into something unrecognizable by their standards. The humans of Earth represented a form of intelligence forged by conditions that would terrify most galactic species. When the vote finally came, The result was closer than expected, but decisive. Earth received the galaxy's first Class 5 designation, Extreme Hazard World Native, species adapted beyond standard parameters. As delegates began filing out of the chamber, Elder Voss remained at his station, staring at the data from Earth. His aide approached quietly. "Elder, what are you thinking?" Voss's ancient features showed deep contemplation. "I'm wondering," he said slowly, "if we've just discovered the galaxy's greatest threat or its greatest hope, and I'm not sure there's a difference." The classification was official, but the real questions were just beginning. Somewhere in the darkness beyond their safe, controlled worlds, an impossible species had evolved impossible capabilities. The galaxy would never be quite the same after learning that. Survival could take forms they had never imagined possible. General Brix slammed his armored fist against the tactical display aboard the battleship Dominator, causing several junior officers to flinch. The Hegemony's War Council had been debating the Earth situation for weeks, and his patience was wearing thin. "Impossible species, deathworlds, Class 5 classifications," he growled, his scarred face twisting with contempt. "The Council has gone soft, jumping at shadows and ghost stories. No species could be as dangerous as these reports claim." The Dominator represented the finest military technology the Hegemony possessed. Its crew consisted of elite warriors from 12 different species, each selected for their combat experience and survival skills. If anyone could handle whatever these humans might present, it was this team. Captain Rex, the ship's commanding officer, reviewed the mission parameters one final time. Approach the third planet under cloak, conduct reconnaissance, and if possible, capture specimens for analysis. The Council wants to study these beings, but they're too afraid to get close enough to learn anything useful. The ship's stealth systems engaged as they entered the Sol system. Advanced cloaking technology that had fooled enemy sensors in a dozen conflicts should certainly be sufficient to avoid detection by primitives who hadn't even achieved faster than light. Travel. Dr. Ward was reviewing seismic data at the geological survey facility when the automated early warning system activated. The gravitational anomaly detectors, installed decades earlier to track asteroids, had registered something unusual approaching Earth's orbital path. "Tom, take a look at this," she called to her colleague. "We've got a gravitational signature. That doesn't match any known celestial body. Mass suggests something artificial, but there's no visual contact." Within hours, observatories around the world were tracking the anomaly. Military satellites detected electromagnetic disturbances consistent with advanced propulsion systems. Colonel Stone at NORD coordinated the response from his underground command center. "Whatever it is, it's big, it's artificial, and it's trying very hard not to be seen," he told the emergency session of world leaders. "Recommend we go to Defense Condition 2 and prepare for possible first contact scenarios." Aboard the Dominator, the crew watched Earth's response with growing confusion. Their cloaked approach had been detected within hours, despite using technology that had fooled far more advanced civilizations. Lieutenant Tor studied the human communications they were intercepting. "General, they're coordinating a global response. Multiple governments are sharing data and resources. They've identified our approximate position and mass, and they're preparing some kind of defensive action." General Brix studied the tactical display showing Earth's military installations. The humans possessed nuclear weapons, but their delivery systems were primitive chemical rockets. Their space capability was limited to orbital flights. By any reasonable military assessment, they posed no threat to a ship like the Dominator. "Maintain position and continue observation," he ordered. "Let's see what these Deathworld survivors actually do when faced with superior technology." The answer came sooner than expected. NASA facilities around the world began launching what appeared to be modified research rockets. Colonel Stone explained the plan to his staff as launches continued from multiple sites. "If our visitors want to play hide-and-seek, we'll flush them out. These rockets carry electromagnetic pulse generators designed for atmospheric research. If something's up there using active sensors, this should light it up like a Christmas tree." The electromagnetic pulses struck the Dominator's shields in coordinated waves. While not powerful enough to cause damage, they created interference patterns that made maintaining the cloak increasingly difficult. General Bricks watched his ship's stealth systems flicker and struggle. "Clever primitives," he admitted grudgingly. "They can't see us directly, so they're trying to force us to reveal ourselves." The situation deteriorated rapidly when one of the human rockets detonated closer than anticipated. The Dominator's shields held, but the electromagnetic feedback caused a cascade failure in the cloaking system. Suddenly visible to Earth's sensors, the massive ship hung in space like a dark metal moon. "Sir, we're taking direct sensor pings from the planet's surface," reported Captain Rex. "They know exactly where we are now." General Bricks faced a decision. That would haunt him for the rest of his life. Standard hegemony protocol called for immediate departure when stealth was compromised. But military pride and curiosity about these impossible humans made him hesitate just long enough for disaster to strike. The cascade failure spread to other systems. Navigation computers crashed and rebooted. Most critically, the gravitational compensators began fluctuating, causing the ship to drift toward Earth's gravity well. "Emergency protocols," Captain Rex shouted as alarms wailed throughout the ship. "All hands prepare for possible atmospheric entry." The crew of the Dominator, elite warriors who had survived battles across the galaxy, found themselves facing something none of their training had prepared them for. Their ship, helpless and falling toward a world they had been warned was lethal to most life forms, was about to crash into the most hostile environment any of them could imagine. But as the Dominator began its uncontrolled descent toward Earth's atmosphere, something unprecedented happened. Instead of the expected attacks or attempts to destroy the falling ship, Earth's response was completely different. Colonel Stone coordinated the emergency response from his command center. "All units, we have a falling spacecraft with probable survivors aboard. This is a rescue operation, not a military engagement. NASA, what's our best approach for safe recovery?" Dr. Ward found herself leading a hastily assembled team of engineers, pilots, and emergency responders. "The object's trajectory will bring it down in the Pacific. We have maybe 4 hours to organize a sea rescue before impact." As the Dominator fell through Earth's atmosphere, its crew experienced something no hegemony warrior had ever encountered. The beings they had come to study, the survivors of the galaxy's most lethal world, were trying to save them. Human aircraft surrounded the falling ship, not to attack but to analyze its descent trajectory. Ships moved into position in the Pacific to attempt water recovery. Most amazingly, human pilots volunteered for dangerous flights through the upper atmosphere to try to establish communication with the alien crew. General Bricks stared at the tactical display in stunned silence. "Captain, are they trying to help us?" "Yes, sir," Rex replied, his voice filled with the same bewilderment. "I think they're trying to save our lives." The Dominator hit the Pacific Ocean with tremendous force, but human engineering teams had positioned floating barriers to cushion the impact. Within minutes, rescue ships surrounded the crash site. Evivas entered the corrosive water that would have killed most galactic species to check for survivors. As the rescue operation unfolded, General Bricks realized that everything the hegemony thought they knew about strength, survival, and warfare had just been proven wrong by a species that treated saving lives as more important than military advantage. The research vessel Seeker drifted silently at the edge of the Sol system while its crew prepared for the most important scientific mission in galactic history. Dr. Lin, director of the Galactic Institute of Evolutionary Biology, had assembled the finest minds from 17 different species to study the impossible humans of Earth. "Remember," she addressed her team during their final briefing, "we're not here to make contact. We're here to understand how evolution could produce a species capable of thriving under conditions that violate every principle of biology we know." The failed hegemony operation had provided unexpected data about human behavior, but it had also raised more questions than answers. How could a species that evolved on such a hostile world demonstrate such concern for the welfare of potential enemies? The rescue of General Brix's crew contradicted every military theory about survival-adapted species. Dr. Oren, the team's cultural anthropologist, activated her long-range observation equipment as they approached Earth's outer atmosphere. I'm detecting massive population centers, but the settlement patterns make no sense. Humans have built their largest cities in areas with the highest concentrations of environmental hazards. The observation was accurate but disturbing. Human civilizations clustered around earthquake fault lines near active volcanoes and in regions prone to severe weather events. Instead of avoiding danger, they seemed drawn to it. Perhaps they lacked the intelligence to recognize threats, suggested Dr. Flux, whose species had evolved in the safety of underground caverns. Survival on such a world might require sacrificing higher cognitive functions for physical resilience. The theory collapsed within hours as the research team observed human technology and social organization. Despite their primitive space travel capabilities, humans demonstrated sophisticated understanding of physics, chemistry, and engineering. Their cities functioned with remarkable efficiency considering the constant environmental challenges they faced. Dr. Moss, the team's physiology expert, focused her sensors on individual humans going about their daily activities. The readings she obtained seemed impossible until she verified them multiple times. "Colleagues, I need you to see this data," she announced during their morning briefing. "Human bone density is approximately 3 times greater than what we would expect for a species their size. Their cardiovascular systems operate at pressures that would rupture typical organic vessels. Most remarkably, their muscular and skeletal systems appear designed for constant adaptation to changing stress levels." The discoveries multiplied as they continued their observations. Human immune systems demonstrated capabilities that seemed borrowed from military tactics rather than biology. Instead of simply defending against threats, human antibodies actively hunted down invaders and maintained detailed memory systems for future encounters. "They've essentially evolved internal warfare capabilities," Dr. Moss explained to her increasingly. "Amazed colleagues. Their bodies treat microscopic threats with the same strategic approach most species reserve for external enemies." But the psychological discoveries proved even more significant than the physical ones. Dr. Oren spent weeks analyzing human entertainment media, literature, and recreational activities. Her findings challenged fundamental assumptions about intelligent behavior. Humans voluntarily subject themselves to experiences that simulate danger, loss, and trauma, she reported to the team. They create artificial scenarios involving catastrophe, conflict, and survival challenges, then participate in them for pleasure. The research vessel's communication officer, Dex, had been monitoring human media broadcasts to understand their social structures. "Dr. Oren, you need to see this. I've identified what humans call disaster movies. They create detailed simulations of planetary destruction, alien invasion, and civilizational collapse. Then millions of them view these scenarios repeatedly." Dr. Lin studied the examples Dex had compiled. Films showing asteroid impacts, nuclear wars, volcanic eruptions, and alien attacks were among the most popular forms of human entertainment. Instead of being traumatized by these depictions of catastrophe, humans seemed to find them thrilling. They're mentally rehearsing worst-case scenarios, Dr. Lin realized. Humans don't just physically adapt to hostile environments, they psychologically prepare for them by imagining even worse conditions. The pattern extended beyond entertainment. Human education systems included detailed study of historical disasters, failed civilizations, and extinction events. Their scientific research actively sought to understand potential threats to their survival. Most disturbing of all, they had developed extensive plans for surviving scenarios that would end most galactic civilizations. Dr. Vale, the team specialist in evolutionary psychology, presented her analysis of human social bonding. Most species form protective groups based on genetic relationship or mutual benefit. Humans form what they call communities that include genetic strangers and often involve significant personal sacrifice for group welfare. The rescue of the Dominator crew suddenly made more sense within this context. Humans had extended their protective instincts to beings from another world, treating potential enemies as part of their survival group simply because they needed help. It's as if their entire evolution has been shaped by catastrophe, Dr. Lin concluded as the research team compiled their findings. Every aspect of their biology, psychology, and social organization appears designed to survive and recover from conditions that would destroy other civilizations. The final piece of the puzzle emerged when Dr. Orn analyzed human expansion patterns throughout their own planet. Rather than settling the safest and most comfortable environments first, humans had deliberately spread into the most challenging regions available. They conquered frozen wastelands, burning deserts, and mountain peaks that other species would consider uninhabitable, she documented. When they achieved spaceflight, their first instinct was to visit the most hostile environment they could reach, their own moon, which lacks atmosphere, water, and protection from radiation. As the Seeker prepared to return to Council space with its findings, Dr. Lin composed what she knew would be the most important report in scientific history. Council Command, we have completed our analysis of the human species. Our findings require immediate revision of galactic biological and evolutionary theories. She paused, considering how to explain what they had discovered. Humans represent the first confirmed example of a species that has been evolutionarily optimized for surviving catastrophic conditions. Every aspect of their development, from cellular structure to social organization, appears designed to function under extreme stress. The implications were staggering. If humans could thrive under conditions that defeated other species, what did that mean when they inevitably expanded beyond their homeworld? What would happen when beings adapted to catastrophe encountered the normal challenges that other civilizations struggled to handle? Recommend immediate upgrade of Earth classification to unprecedented Category 5' designation, Dr. Lin concluded her report. Further recommend establishment of new galactic protocols for interaction with apex survival species. As the Seeker departed the Sol system, carrying the most revolutionary scientific data in galactic history, Dr. Lin wondered if they had just discovered the galaxy's ultimate survivors or something even more significant. Perhaps they had found the answer to questions about life and survival that the galaxy didn't even know it needed to ask. Chancellor Roth stood before the emergency assembly of the full Galactic Council, her expression grave as she reviewed the intelligence reports scattered across her desk. 6 months had passed since Dr. Lin's research team had returned from Earth with their revolutionary findings, and now the situation had evolved beyond anyone's predictions. "Distinguished delegates," she began, her voice carrying across the vast chamber aboard Station Harmony. "Long-range monitoring stations have detected artificial structures departing the Sol system's gravitational influence. The humans are beginning to explore space." The chamber erupted in concerned murmurs and agitated clicking sounds from various species representatives. Senator Drew of the Deep Ocean Federation raised a tentacle for recognition. "Chancellor, what are the projected timelines for human expansion into inhabited space?" The answer came from Admiral Trek of the Defense Coalition, whose military analysts had been tracking human space activities since the Dominator incident. "Based on their current technological development rate and expansion patterns, we estimate first contact with inhabited systems within 12 to 15 cycles." The implications were staggering. A species adapted to survive conditions that would kill most galactic life forms was about to discover that the rest of the galaxy existed in what they would probably consider comfortable, safe environments. What would beings who viewed catastrophe as entertainment think of worlds where the greatest challenge was managing weather patterns? Dr. Lin, now serving as special advisor to the Council on Human Affairs, addressed the assembly from her position at the research podium. "Esteemed delegates, our continued observations of human behavior suggest their expansion will follow patterns unlike anything we've seen before." She activated the main display, showing trajectory analyses of human exploration missions. Humans appear to be naturally drawn to environments that other species avoid. Their first interplanetary missions targeted their system's most hostile worlds. They established research stations in locations with extreme temperature variations, radiation exposure, and resource scarcity. Ambassador Quinn of the Luminari delegation studied the data with obvious concern. Dr. Lin, are you suggesting that humans will seek out the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy for colonization? That's exactly what I'm suggesting, Dr. Lin replied. Human expansion patterns indicate they prefer challenges over comfort. They're likely to gravitate toward worlds in the galactic hazard zones that we've designated as uninhabitable. The revelation sparked intense debate throughout the chamber. The merchant guilds saw potential opportunities in having a species capable of extracting resources from worlds no one else could survive. The peaceful Unity worlds worried about the psychological impact of contact with beings who treated extreme adversity as normal. Elder Voss of the Ancient Archives accessed historical records spanning millennia of galactic civilization. In all our recorded history, we have never encountered a species adapted for conditions that exceed our survival parameters. We have no protocols for this situation. The discussion was interrupted when urgent communications began flooding the council's emergency channels. A mining colony in the Outer Rim had transmitted a distress call before communications went silent. Automated sensors in the region detected the signature energy patterns of Ravager drones, ancient war machines left over from conflicts that predated most current civilizations. The colony was evacuating when contact was lost, Admiral Trek reported. Grimly, Ravager drones have been dormant in that sector for over 2,000 years. Something reactivated them. The chamber fell silent. Ravager attacks were the kind of catastrophic events that entire civilizations spent centuries preparing to avoid. The autonomous war machines were programmed to eliminate all organic life they encountered, and their technology was advanced enough that even modern fleets preferred to avoid rather than engage them. Emergency response protocols are in effect, Chancellor Roth announced. All nearby systems have been warned to maintain safe distances until we can organize a military response. That's when the second urgent message arrived. Captain Ross of the human exploration vessel Pioneer transmitted directly to the Council's emergency frequencies. Galactic Authority, this is Captain Ross responding to distress signals from Mining Colony Designation Outpost 447. We are moving to assist. The Council watched in stunned silence as the human ship, barely larger than a standard research vessel, approached the Ravager-infested system. No galactic captain would consider such an action without massive fleet support and extensive preparation. This is Admiral Trek to human vessel Pioneer. You are approaching an extreme hazard zone. Ravager drones are active in that system. Recommend immediate withdrawal to safe distance. Captain Ross's response exemplified everything the galaxy had learned to expect from humans. Admiral, we copy your warning about the drones. We've studied your historical records on Ravager technology and tactics. This looks like an interesting challenge. What followed defied every principle of military science the galaxy knew. Instead of approaching the crisis with overwhelming force and extensive preparation, the human crew treated the situation like a complex puzzle to be solved. Captain Ross coordinated with the surviving colonists using communication methods that no galactic military manual contained. She analyzed Ravager attack patterns in real time, adapted her ship's systems to counter their targeting sensors, and developed new tactics, specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in technology that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia. They're improvising solutions faster than our computers can analyze the variables, Admiral Trek reported to the Council as they monitored the engagement. The human approach to crisis management is completely unprecedented. Within 6 hours, something impossible had happened. The Pioneer had not only eliminated the immediate Ravager threat, but had disabled the entire dormant network that had been lurking in that sector of space. The mining colonists were rescued, the ancient war machines were neutralized, and the humans treated the entire operation as if it had been a routine training exercise. Captain Ross's after-action report to the Council was characteristically brief. Galactic Authority? Situation resolved? The Ravager drones were interesting opponents, but their programming was too rigid once we understood their decision trees. Colony population has been evacuated successfully. Chancellor Roth convened an emergency session of the Council's Executive Committee immediately after receiving the report. The implications of what they had witnessed extended far beyond a single rescue operation. "We're facing a fundamental shift in galactic dynamics," she announced to the small group of senior delegates. "Humans have just demonstrated capabilities that exceed our most optimistic projections." The debate that followed would reshape galactic civilization. If humans could resolve crises that challenged entire fleets, what did that mean for the balance of power in the galaxy? More importantly, what did it mean for the countless threats that galactic civilization had learned to avoid rather than confront? Elder Voss spoke the words that everyone was thinking. "We may have discovered that survival isn't just about avoiding danger. Perhaps it's about learning to overcome it." The result was unprecedented in galactic history. The Council unanimously passed the Soul Accords, establishing humanity as the galaxy's first protected expansion species with unlimited access to hazard zones and uninhabitable worlds. In exchange, humans agreed to serve as the galaxy's emergency response specialists for situations deemed beyond normal capabilities. As Captain Ross accepted the Council's commission as the first human representative in the new extreme circumstances. Response Division, she smiled at the assembled delegates. Finally, something that might actually be challenging. Chancellor Roth realized as she signed the accords that they had originally set out to protect the galaxy from Earth's children. Instead, they had discovered that Earth's children were exactly what the galaxy needed to protect itself from the challenges that had always seemed insurmountable. The most lethal planet in the galaxy had produced the galaxy's ultimate protectors, and the universe would never be quite the same.